Praise be to Jesus and Mary. You're listening to Returning to Catholic Roots in a New Age World, a podcast hosted by Holly and Mandy. Let's begin our show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Returning to Catholic Roots in a New Age World. My name is Holly, and as always, I'm joined here by my mother, Mandy, and we're happy to be back this week. And we'll begin our episode by saying, Jesus, meek and humble of heart, make our hearts like unto thine. So, another week of Catholic Roots, and ready to get into this week's episode. I'm just going to start by saying, it's kind of funny. It's kind of hard to be sad about it because I'm not overly sad about it.
Right.
But I did lose my job on Friday. I got a meeting with my two managers and they told me that they were letting me go. It wasn't performance related. They said that they were shutting down this. I had an online job where I wrote articles for a home decor site and a DIY site. And, they just very suddenly, it was like very sudden and just like, we're letting you go. We're shutting the sites down. They don't make enough revenue, whatever.
But you don't really...
I don't really believe that.
Yeah.
I don't really believe that because the other thing is this company doesn't understand is they share all their numbers.
Right.
With the staff. Like it's not a secrecy.
Yeah.
And there's all these projections and targets that you're trying to hit each quarter. Everything is very SEO tailored, which stands for search engine optimization. So how they get people to the site is having good SEO pieces that can bring people from Google.
Yeah.
And then those views turn into ad revenue. So I saw all the numbers.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any targeted targets going down.
Right.
So this came out of like absolute
left field.
Like I'm just like, you're shutting these sites down. They're not making money. That is so, because I outright asked them, I said, is this performance based or is there a reason why? And then I also thought there was this thing that I wouldn't go into the office.
Yeah.
But to be fair to me, they found me.
Yeah.
I did not even apply for this job.
Right.
The CEO of the company I used to work with at the very liberal company that I used to work for, he found me and he asked me and said, please come and write for us. And I told him, I said, listen, because at the time we didn't have a school. I said, listen, I homeschool my kids. I don't have time to come to an office. I will work for you, but I'm never coming into an office.
Right.
I can do this job at home. I will do it. He said, yep, that's fair. We don't really need to see you, blah, blah, blah. So I had even said to them in this Zoom meeting when they were firing me, is this because I won't come into the office?
Yeah.
And he said, no, it's nothing like that. And, but my suspicions are leading me to believe.
Yes.
And again, these are just suspicions, but
mm-hmm.
the what's the word? The clues are there.
The tingly senses.
The tingly senses are there. And I kind of have the proof behind me to kind of back it up based on what I've seen from the company that I believe I've been replaced by AI.
Yes.
Because I was already using AI to do my job. Just so everyone has a grasp on this, they literally asked us to stop writing articles.
Yes.
And told us we had to use this tool, this AI tool that wrote the articles for us.
Right.
They didn't want us write. They literally told us, do not waste your time writing articles. It's a waste of time. Here we've done this AI tool, and then we can put out even more articles.
Right.
Our output of articles will be higher.
Yes.
More people to the site. We don't really care about the content per se.
Yeah.
We want it to be good, but let's use these AI tools. They developed their own AI tool.
Yeah.
To write articles.
All you had to do.
So all I had to do was find a link to a similar article, write in the keyword.
Yeah.
Write a title, and then hit a button. And then in under 5 minutes, I'm going to say a minute even, the little cogwheel would go and then a whole article would just spit out on the screen.
Right.
Written in a minute. And then I had to go and find the pictures to go to accompany that. Because the thing is if you're on the computer a lot and you read articles, you can tell AI generated content.
Right.
Most people can. I can spot it from a mile away because that's what I do, right? But if you find the right pictures and you find good pictures, you can kind of make it look not so AI-ish, right? But what I'm thinking is I'm going to guess either, and I had an editor too. So I wrote the articles. I didn't edit them, or quote unquote wrote the articles.
Yeah.
Found the pictures, send them off to an editor. I think they finally either just clued in like, well, we don't really need her to do this. The editor can do it.
Yeah.
Why are we paying her to do this? Why can't the editor just use the tool?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think has happened. So, or either they've developed a tool, they're now generating the pictures by AI.
I would assume.
Even,
Yeah.
you know? Like really look at all AI can do. So in my mind, I'm telling myself, I'm like, I think you just lost your job to AI.
Right.
You know,
I believe you did too.
they just clued in like, we don't need you. Why are we paying
The
another
internet,
person?
what people don't understand about the internet is that it's 24 hours a day, 24/7.
Yeah.
Right? And it has to move really, really fast. And there has to be tons and tons of content.
Yeah.
Right? Like, in the old days, we would watch a television show, weekly series. And they had all week to prepare a half an hour skit, sitcom, right? Well, now people binge those sitcoms.
Yeah.
They can watch a whole series in a day.
Yeah.
Right? Everything is binged now. We're binged. Like, you can't tell me it's not a serious problem.
Yeah.
Like, they can't come up with enough content to satisfy the people.
Right.
And we...
What kills me too is the content's garbage.
And it's all garbage.
It's all garbage. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, these articles that I was... the ones I would write, they would actually had research behind them, or I knew the topic really well and I could just write it.
Mm-hmm.
But these AI articles, they're garbage.
Right.
They're absolute garbage. You can tell they're written by a robot. You can tell, like, the tips and the whatever. So let's say I'm writing an article on 32 kitchen hacks.
Right.
The hacks are garbage.
They're garbage.
Because they're pulled off the internet. They're not vetted. They're not...
Yeah.
You don't know if they're going to work. So now we have a whole world of people reading stuff on the internet that's not even true.
It's really garbage.
It's garbage.
And I've mentioned this before, but I found, immediately back in the day, I can't remember what year John Candy died. For you, those of you who don't know John Candy, but he's a comedian. It was a long time ago.
Oh yeah,
maybe in the 90s.
90s, yeah.
Yeah, he died. And anyway, when he died, he was in the middle of making a movie.
Yeah.
They finished the movie without him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how they did that, but that blew my mind.
That they could do that.
That they could do that back in the 90s. I was like, wait a minute. They finished this movie without him?
Yeah.
That means he wasn't needed.
Right.
Yeah.
And
as soon as he's not needed, that means you're never going to be able to believe your own eyes.
Yes. So this is why I'm sharing this with all of you for one of two reasons. One, I just switched numerical there. One, don't believe anything you read on the internet.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I'm saying that because I worked in this sphere and I'm even talking for something silly as kitchen hacks. They say something like, oh, pour borax down your whatever. No, don't do it.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, because you got to understand, these are people sitting in an office.
Yeah.
Okay? They don't really care if you ruin your kitchen sink. They don't really care if you wreck your windows. And I mean, this is very secular level stuff. But I'm just saying, like, be very careful what you read on the internet.
Did we know somebody who had a wedding recently, and she put her boutonnieres in the freezer.
Yeah, because an
based off
article told
something
her.
That an article had told her.
Yeah.
And she ruined, so she got
She
up and you
ruined
were
all her flowers were ruined.
right. You can't freeze flowers,
You can't
ladies. In
freeze
case anybody,
flowers.
it's like if you've ever had a head of frozen lettuce, you know it's garbage once it freezes. Same with flowers. You cannot freeze them.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That whoever wrote that article was some person sitting in an office or sitting at
Yeah.
home late at night, just pulling quote unquote facts
Yeah.
off the internet, or AI compiling them into an article. Because what AI does too when it's writing these articles, it pulls from everything else on the web.
Right.
It doesn't pull from fact.
Yeah.
A robot does not check if it's fact.
Right.
It just pulls from other articles and then kind of rewords and rejumbles to make it somewhat original.
Mm-hmm.
So, I say this because I do feel like it's like the tip of the iceberg, like we're heading into like, where you are not really going to be able to trust anything.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't
I
trusted
mean, we're
any.
already there.
We're already there, and I haven't trusted anything for a long time. Like, so sometimes I read internet articles and I say that's interesting, but I don't. I put it. I have in my life. I have little envelopes where I file it. Well, that's interesting. It'll file in that.
Yeah.
That's interesting, but who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Article. The only thing because I didn't want to ever be deceived.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that you had to put up guardrails in order for that to happen
Yeah.
because we were warned.
Yeah.
And this was way before AI.
Yeah.
So I had three. I said, the only way I'm going to believe anything is, well, it basically comes down to one, old
Yeah.
yellow books with imprimaturs.
Yeah.
That's my fact. And I know a lot of people like to ditch on that and say, well, they weren't always right. Yeah. They may not have always been right, but there's nothing in there that's going to send you to hell.
Yeah.
And that you can bank on.
Yeah.
And I mean, Randy Travis, Randy Travis, he was a singer, had a stroke many years ago, and he can barely talk now.
Yeah.
So he just came out with a brand new album.
Yeah, Man Who Can Barely Talk came out with a brand new singing album.
They made him a whole new album.
AI.
All AI. So I'm like, when is Elvis coming out with a new album?
Yeah.
When is the Beatles coming out with
When's Michael Jackson coming out with a new
when
album?
is Michael
Like
Jackson coming out with a new album? Right? When Randy Travis came out with his new album, they did it with his permission.
Right. Right.
Right? And he
'Cause
got
he's
the
not deceased yet.
royalties for it.
Right.
Even though it is 100% AI.
Yeah, which is so, yeah.
It's his voice. They took his voice and they generated. And that's the other thing what they're doing to scam people.
Yeah, I've seen it where they'll take your children's voice.
Yeah.
I don't know how they get it. I don't know how they do it, but I've heard it. They take your children's voice and then they call you.
Yeah.
And it's your kid and they're saying, "Mom, I'm in trouble. I need help. I need you to send money,
Yeah.
whatever."
And they panic and they do it, and then they find out their child is in the house sleeping on the couch.
Right.
They're in no danger, right?
Yeah.
So they attack the vulnerable.
Right.
They attack you where you're vulnerable, right?
I mean, when we talk about like this, the world will be deceived. Like black will become white will become black. This is what that is.
Yeah, it's it's not even real.
It's not real.
And people are not necessary.
Yeah.
We went to see the movie Twister.
Yeah.
And nobody to buy a ticket from.
Yeah.
Right?
We got to the movie theater. There was there's not even a cash register at the movie theater we went to.
Yeah.
You just walk up to a box, you put your card in, you pick what theater you want, and then you get your ticket. There is a person standing to collect your ticket.
And of course, you can do that from home too. So you
Yeah.
can buy it, which we didn't do, which caused us a little bit of trouble.
Trouble, yeah.
We should have, because we ended up having to go to the next show, which was
Yeah.
almost showed up because everybody's sitting at home buying their
The
ticket
tickets, yeah.
online.
And I mean, and then the other point, the other reason why I say this is because there's a positive to it, though.
Yeah, it's a positive.
The-
We're
I-
taking it as a
I'm
positive.
taking it as a positive. Well, and I try to live my life the best that I can with God's will. God will provide. God's will be done. My husband still has a job, thanks be to God, and so it's not a dire thing. But I do believe in taking whatever struggles, whatever strife God throws at us, and doing something with it. So my job, I was very grateful for because it allowed me to be at home with my children.
Yeah.
And I worked in the evenings,
Mhm.
so I could, do whatever, and still be a stay-at-home mom per se. But it did take time, And it
And
was
energy.
stressful and energy, and it was emotionally draining. And I was always like having to meet deadlines and make sure my articles were in on time. Even though they didn't take a ton of time, it was still one extra thing to do that I
Yeah.
didn't want to,
Right.
you know? So I do believe that, I said to God, I'm like, I'll persevere and I will, you know, there were many times that I wanted to quit,
Yeah.
many times.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, no, I'll persevere and I will have this job as long as God says. I wait for God's hand to
Right. Right.
intervene. And now God has intervened.
Yeah.
And so I go God's will. And now I'm like, well, now I have opened up a whole time slot of stuff or to do stuff that can maybe be better.
Right.
So my mom and I are going to try our darndest
Yeah.
to get our Catholic homestead going.
Yeah.
And
We have 181 followers.
yeah. Hey,
Not
that's
very
not
much.
that's not nothing, but
You need 1,000 to actually make
no, I
money,
know, but
and you need so many hours. And
yeah, but we were neglecting it because I was always so busy.
right.
By the time I did whatever I had to do during the day, and then you get the kids at night, you're settled down, and then you're like, okay, now I got to work, and then I'm tired, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just very draining. So it's one thing that I believe God has removed from my plate to open up so that I can do something else. And not only that, I do have my own YouTube channel, my own blog where I just do DIYs and decor and
Yeah.
stuff that I want to do. That's actually, I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, real.
Yeah.
It's not AI generated. It's
Right.
me actually doing the DIYs. And, I try my best not to do things that are dumb or whatever, like that are pointless or, I try to be very, this is necessary or something. And I like what I like to do, what I love to do more than anything. And my mom and I started doing this a long, long time ago, way back when we had our very first store, was to take nothing
And
and make it something.
Yeah.
Garbage, junk. I mean, that was our whole
Mm-hmm. Spiel.
spit. What's that word? That our whole
Gig. I don't know.
gig. Yeah, whatever I'm trying to say.
Stick.
That was stick. That's the word I'm looking for. We took junk and we made it beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to get back to that. I'd like to get back to my roots where I started. And I also feel like I do feel like the internet is tired of seeing influencers with money and just,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole secular thing, but I'm just saying, but if we can bring some of that goodness and that, you don't have to be rich, and to make a nice, beautiful home. And I'm planning on interweaving my Catholic faith, which I already updated my about page
Oh, did you?
on my blog,
Oh, good.
because I'm starting with my new mantra of unabashedly Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like it,
Yeah.
there's the door.
Right.
Because that was the other thing we wanted to touch on, because I did have a very kind of eye-opening experience this weekend, because here I am, I've got fired. I'm literally down at the school.
You were in the middle of
I was in the
getting ready
middle
for a
of
garage
setting up
sale.
for the garage and bake sale at the school with sister and another mother
I
from
even
the
made
parish.
a joke. You said, "Oh, I got a meeting." That's you're getting fired.
Yeah, and then I go and I just take this meeting in my car.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this will just take 20 minutes. And I walk away. And then here I know I get fired, come back, and everyone's there setting up. And I'm like, yeah, I just lost my job. My mom was like, I just made a joke.
Yeah.
But whatever, So there, here we are. We're setting up for this bake sale, garage sale. We were there till 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
And I had just gotten fired. And I was thinking in my head, well, at least I don't have to go home and do my job now.
Right. Yeah.
But anyways, the next day, and I'm going to try to get through this story without crying, because I literally had to excuse myself. So we're in a small town. The school's just outside of a really small town. And I don't know how it's like in the States, but here in Canada, you don't see nuns. Okay.
Yeah.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
You never see a nun. And I always say the two nuns that the bishop sent us here, sisters, they're the Sisters of Canada.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure they're the only ones. Okay. Yeah. So people, this was kind of the first church function that we've had that's been open to the public.
Right.
Because it's a garage sale and bake sale. So this man comes down. He was one of our first customers. And there was this old rusty box of tools. And we were there really late. We didn't get a chance to price everything.
Sorry.
And
Me
and
the
so he
hack.
picks up this rusty tool and he brings it over to me. He's like, "How much for this?" And I'm like, "Oh," and I'm no good at that stuff. I'm no good at pricing stuff on the fly. So I was trying to like, well, let me just, and I was going to come and ask my mom because she's really good at stuff, but she was inside. So I started to walk away. He's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, hang on a minute." And he's like, "Let me just make this easy for you." And he pulls out his wallet. I thought he was going to pull out a 10 or 20 or something. And he hands me $100 bill. And I'm just like, and then he says, he hands it to me and he goes, "You guys are doing a really good thing here. A really good thing here." And he grabs my hand and he kind of like shakes it, but he's like putting the $100 bill in it.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I was like, thank you. And I had to get away because I was bawling.
Yeah.
Like we don't, and I mean, if you're around the nuns a lot, I'm sure you're used to that.
Uh-huh.
They just give them things, right?
Yeah.
Like, but we don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see that here,
No.
you know? And the kids are playing in the yard and he was just so caught, like, you know, and I mean, the mother that was there working with me gave him the whole spiel before about how we're traditional values, we're building the school here for the children, da-da-da. And I went inside and I was trying to tell sister what happened. And I just, because I had to give her the money, and I just started bawling. And I said to sister, I said, "I don't know how you do this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do this all day. I'm going to be, you know, like, because it's just that true charity.
Yeah.
You don't get to see that.
No, not
Very often, you know, especially from someone who's not part of the church. Like, this is just a neighbor, you know, somebody who lived close town, you know. So it was kind of very like, it was like kind of very, and I'm going to try to say this as humbly as possible, but it's like, you know, when you want to be the light of the world,
Yeah.
when they say be the light of the world, and then somebody tells you that this thing you're doing here, and I mean, it's not even me. I'm not saying me just specifically. I mean our church as a whole, and the sisters, and all the parents, and the children, and the parish.
Uh-huh.
And somebody sees that and recognizes that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like, and wants to go out of their way to say, "Hey, you're doing a good thing here." That's very like overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know?
To be recognized.
So it was, you know, and anyway, so, and I was going somewhere else with that thought, but now it's escaped me. But anyways, yeah, so it just, it was a good weekend, I will say.
Yeah, even though you lost your job.
Even though I lost my job, it was a good weekend, and it was, well, I will say it does put in your mind and your forefront why you're here and what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that jobs come and go, houses come and go, even people in your life may come and go. But at the base of it all, if you're not grounded in your faith and you're not you're not living your faith every day, what's the point, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there's really no point. So yeah. And then on that note too, I did have just another little thing I wanted to share, because I have to give a little shout out when a shout out is due, I feel. And the whole point of the podcast too is I want to, as much as we can, inspire devotion to certain things in our faith. So I'm going to give a little tiny shout out to my guardian angel. So, because I think oftentimes that we forget about our guardian angels. I do anyways. They're always there. They're always looking after us. But how many times do we actually stop and talk to them or ask them for something? I know I forget all too often. So I had a few important things that I really had to remember. And I was stressed to the max this weekend a little bit. Rightfully so. And sister wanted me to remember something to bring the next day. And I'm like, how am I going to remember this? Normally I'll put an alarm in my phone, but I'm like, I'm too busy and I have to go home and I have to remember to do it as soon as I get home. So I just looked to my right and I just whispered and I said, "Guardian angel, can you please help me to remember this as soon as I get home? Please, just gently remind me. I would be ever so grateful. Please help me to remember."
Yeah.
And what do you think happened?
You walked in the door and someone whispered in your ear?
Not quite. It popped into my head. But I know, it's your guardian angel.
Right.
And then I thought to myself, why don't I ask my guardian angel
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have something very important, and I just want to throw it out there as like, you know, if you're struggling or if you need to remember something or you need to, you know, be reminded or like even there has been times, and this I can't take credit for it. It was inspired by a gentleman at our church when he was sharing his story. He shared the story about how he had to get up really early and he had to be there to serve mass, and he was with a traveling priest, or I can't remember the exact specifics of the story, but before he went to bed he said to his guardian angel, I'm going to need you to get me out of bed.
Yeah.
And he said he shot out of bed.
Right.
No
Right.
alarm,
I remember
no
that
alarm
story.
clock, no nothing.
Yeah.
Just at the exact right time.
Yeah.
You know, so when he told me that, I'm like, yeah, like, you know, we need to remember that they're there for us, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I mean, not to use and abuse, but like, if there's something important you need to do, just say to your guardian angel, can you please remind me? Because I'm weak and, you know, a worm and
Yeah.
worthless.
Yeah.
And you're my angel, you know, I need you. So, and they're here. They were sent to us from God. They want to be, they want to be,
Yes.
you know,
They want to
they want
be.
to be needed and
Yeah.
appreciated. And you know, I'm just guessing, but I'm sure they do. You know, how think about, if you think about it, and I try to envision in my mind my, if my guardian angel had a face, let's say, you know, and when I call on them, what the look on their face would be,
Right.
how happy they would be, how, you know, glad they would be to hear from you. They're
Mm-hmm.
right there,
Yeah.
you know, and how, and throughout the day, and we just ignore them,
Yeah.
you know. So I wanted to first give gratitude and thanksgiving to my guardian angel, but also to maybe hopefully inspire others to foster a greater devotion, because I know I'm going to.
Right.
I'm going to try and foster that greater devotion to my
I
guardian
think we
angel.
depend too much on ourselves all the time.
Yes.
We depend on our own greatness.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. And that's what I said. I am a worm and no man.
You know.
You know, I
And when
need
we
you.
depend on our own greatness, that's always when we fall
That's
short.
when we fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so anything else you want to add there?
No. Except I'm going to try to myself to be more
Remember
attentive to my
my
guardian
guardian
angel.
angel. Yeah, no.
I do always myself personally, like mass is 7:30 in the morning here, daily mass for us, and I'm about 20-25 minutes away,
Hmm.
and I try to go, but as I get older, sleep is an issue.
Yeah.
Like sleep is just an issue. You
Hmm.
know, you're going to bed, you're getting up all night. You're, you know, like
Yeah.
just weird things go on all the time. And so I one day, it was a week or 2 weeks ago, I said to I got up and I was like, "Oh, you have time to go to mass." And I went, "Oh no, you're too tired."
Yeah.
And I was really, and I didn't go.
Yeah.
I said, "No, you're never doing that
That
again.
again. Yeah.
You're never doing that again. If your guardian angel wakes you up in time to go to mass,
You go to mass.
you go to mass."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so that's what I do now. I don't actually set an alarm, but for some reason, he always wakes me up. He's like,
Yeah.
hello, time for you to
Yeah.
get up.
Yeah.
And I get up
And I mean, and then the other thing too is sometimes I just talk to them. I just talk to my guardian angel. And like, you know, when my son first started serving mass, I was so nervous about that book.
yeah,
And I was like, when he has to carry the book down. Because I don't know what other churches are like, but at our church, we have this big gold book stand and it's so heavy.
and
And
we have
it's
a very
so,
high altar
and we
too.
have a very high altar. My son's very short. And
I can't reach the altar to put the flowers on it.
no. And the first time, like he underestimated how high it was, and he pushed, like, kind of slammed
Yeah,
the book into the altar accidentally. It was an accident. He was learning, but you know, the first time he served, I was so nervous, and they came out and they started mass, and it just popped into my head, and I was like, and I turned to my guardian angel. I said, "Can you go, please?" I said,
yeah,
"Can you go, please? Can you help him? I know his guardian angel is there, but I want him to have two." I said, "And I'm here in mass and I'm okay right now. So please go to my son, help my son." And I just so now it's like a little habit. And every
yeah.
time my son serves on the altar, I send my guardian angel
Right, right.
up to help him. I say, "Please go help him," you know? So, I mean, this isn't like superstition, but it's that faith and that devotion that you have.
Right.
And you have to believe that, if you ask your guardian angel to do something, if it's God's will, they'll do it,
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, like I said, the faith and devotion part
Well,
of it.
the other thing that I want to point out too, which a lot of people don't really understand, since we're talking about guardian angels, is the devil. Your angel is more powerful than the devil.
Yeah.
So a lot of people fear the devil, right?
Yeah.
But in order for the devil to get at you, your angel actually has to step aside to allow that to
Yeah.
happen. And I'm just going to to say this, if that happens, it's because of sin,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, in the Holy Ghost, in the Novena to the Holy Ghost, it says the very first thing it says there's only one thing to be feared, and that is sin,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And even that, I don't have the direct Bible quote in front of me, but about my angel shall walk before thee, and I will be an enemy of thine enemies, and
Yeah.
afflict those who afflict thee,
Yeah.
and that, right? So the idea is, if you're faithful to God
Yeah.
and you keep away from sin,
Yeah.
right? Because what the angel allows to happen to you is done for your own benefit.
Right.
So I mean, nothing would happen that wasn't for
For
your
your
own
own
particular
yeah.
benefit. So we have to keep that in mind.
Well, I mean, and then it's in the prayer that we pray.
Yeah.
Ever this day be at my side.
Right.
Ever this day be at my side.
Yeah.
We're asking our guardian angel, and if you say that prayer, I say that prayer every morning and every night before I go to bed. Like I want my guardian angel to be at my side.
Yeah, I wish I had that in front of me. It says, if thou will listen to him and do all that he tells you,
Yeah.
I will be an enemy of thine enemy and afflict those who afflict thee.
Yeah.
And my angel shall come walk before thee. So, I mean, but it's if you do everything that he tells you.
Yeah.
So you have to be there and you have to be listening to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean, and that's the thing, and we have to look at our guardian angel as a gift.
Yeah.
It is they are a gift.
Yeah.
From God. Like, God could have sent us here. I mean, do you not think for 1 second that angel wouldn't rather be in the heaven of hosts?
Yeah.
Praising and adoring God for all eternity?
Right, right.
Like God gives us this being.
Yeah.
As a gift to help us through this mess.
Yes, and
like
to see us through.
And to see us through. And if we
and to allow the providence to come through us that's necessary.
And I mean, you often think of too, like you say, if your guardian angel has to step aside. And I often, because I've read the story The Cure of Ars, and I always remember, when he would lay down at night.
Yeah.
And the devil would just attack him.
Right.
And he would, no fear.
No fear.
None.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. Because I'm sure he knew the only thing to fear was sin.
Exactly.
He wasn't afraid of the devil. He's just
right.
like, oh,
I mean, well, the
go
saints
away.
refer to the devil as a dog on a chain.
Right.
Right. I mean, the only thing that lets him off is sin.
Right.
Right. So if you're, if you're not sinning,
there's nothing to fear.
There's nothing to fear.
Right. Right. So anyways, yeah, so there, I just thought, I just think we don't talk about our guardian angels enough. So I wanted to put that out there. And yeah, so I guess we will move on and segue into our book then, eh?
Uh-huh.
Eh?
Eh? That's our Canadianism coming out for you guys.
Yep. Okay, so we left off at manners in our employments. So, quote, I'm just going to start at the beginning because I can't remember. I think we read a little bit into this paragraph, but we'll just start at the top of the subject. Quote, good manners as well as Christian virtue and the obligations of religious life require that you show every mark of respect and courtesy to your principal, superintendent, and associate workers, religious and lay. End quote. So I think that's where we stopped because I do remember talking.
We talked a lot about, making sure that you teach your children obedience.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right, yeah.
And was it in this that we said, because if you don't teach your children obedience, if you don't teach them to be obedient to principals, teachers,
right,
other people, they will not be taught obedience, and they will not be obedient to you. because you fall under that category too
Yeah.
of required obedience.
Okay, quote, to say nothing of the loss from a supernatural viewpoint, any sister guilty of rudeness to those with whom she is laboring makes very little of herself and forfeits her claim to their respect and esteem, end quote. I mean, that's very good. So, like, when you think about that, you're guilty of rudeness pretty much to anybody. You are forfeiting your claim to their respect and esteem.
Yeah.
Like you're losing when you are rude to somebody. Think about it. If somebody is ever rude to you, do you respect that person?
No, and not only that, you don't respect that person if you're watching someone be rude to
Right.
someone
Not
else.
just the person that they're being rude to. It's all those around.
I remember
You're
this.
forfeiting your good name and your good, your morals, you know?
I remember this story. This is like 50 years old, this story. It used to be told all the time. I won't mention names. But they were at a fancy dinner, and it was a husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
And the wife was cutting her meat, and her fork slid, and she moved the peas onto the table,
Oh.
right? And the husband berated her in front of everybody in the table, like, look what you're doing, this is, you're a slob, you're messy, you're blah, 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 whatever he said to her, right? Well, I mean, nobody looked at
When the peas slid on the table.
Nobody looked at the woman and thought, "Oh my gosh, look at your
What a
wife.
pig."
She's disgusting." What they
Yeah.
saw,
Was a husband berating her wife.
and
His
he's
wife.
disgusting.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. So when you're rude to somebody, everybody around you is looking at you like you're disgusting for being rude.
Well,
They're not looking at the person who did something wrong.
No, because you took the attention away from them and put it on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I saw years ago an older lady. I went into a store, and a kid about 14. Man, she was beating him like a dog. I mean, with her words, right?
Yeah.
And I was standing there, and I thought, and all I could think was, man, you're one disgusting woman.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know. And when I walked away, I thought maybe the kid is useless. Maybe,
Yeah.
he's a big pain in the butt. Maybe he's whatever he was.
Right.
But as soon as she started berating him,
All the attention's on you now.
all the attention's on you, and the only person that looks bad in this series is you.
Yeah.
Right? So, when you're out in public, I mean, it's like taking the coals off of someone's head and putting them on your own head. That's all that is.
Okay, quote, try to accommodate others as far as possible and be ready to perform any service they may ask of you, if such is not contrary to your community obligations or to the wishes of the superior, the principal, or the superintendent, end quote. So basically, if somebody asks you to do something, if you're able to do it, which I believe this book has said that many times.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Right? If you get asked something, whether it's, can you get me a drink of water? Can you,
Yeah.
do you have lined paper? I don't know. Whatever it is you're asked, I just got to ask something. Make it my top priority to get off my butt and go do it. I mean, it's, is that person being lazy by making you go do something maybe they could do themselves? Maybe. Maybe they could figure it out themselves. They don't need you to run around and pick up their socks. Maybe, But the thing here is that you're looking for the graces.
Mm-hmm.
You're always looking for the graces. You're looking to put the charity into the room. You're looking to put, I don't know, the peace into the room.
Right. Okay, quote, remember the value of a pleasant good morning and good afternoon, end quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know how many times in my life when someone has said a pleasant good morning or good afternoon to me, and it's made my day.
Yeah.
Something so simple and something so, just even that brief acknowledgement that somebody walks by you and says, well, I'll tell you, we have a seminarian here at our church. There's not a time that I believe that, I mean, and he's a seminarian, he's trained to be a priest, but, every time you pass him,
Yeah.
he will never pass you without acknowledging you.
Yeah, no, I know.
Good morning.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go far as to say the reason why I'm giving praise to him for this is because it's the way he does it too.
Right.
He always calls you out by name.
Yeah.
And he always says, good morning, Holly. good afternoon, like and it's not just like it's everybody.
Yeah.
He makes a point if he passes you to acknowledge you. So
Mm-hmm.
never ever underestimate
Yeah,
the power that is behind just acknowledging somebody.
I'm sure he doesn't listen to our podcast.
No, I don't think he listens to it anyways.
I wouldn't want to embarrass him, but
No, well, I'm not gonna
he
say
is
his name, but
he always runs around. If
I
you
just
said you needed a piece of paper, he's running
yeah,
around to
and I
get you
just
one or whatever,
I'm just
He
using
does do this to perfection.
that's why I'm using as an
Yeah.
example, because when we say etiquette is lost,
Yeah.
he found it.
Yeah.
You know, like he has etiquette down to a T.
Yeah.
And and to his credit, like I'm like, you really go out of your way to make sure you are the most polite person. And I truly firmly believe he's doing it for the greater glory of God.
Yeah.
It's not anything other than that.
Right.
I mean, he wants to be a priest, you know, but it's like I see him, and when you talk about being the light of the world,
Yeah.
I will go so far as to say
Yeah.
that just having him here in our church has improved my manners.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him, and he sets such a good example of what it is to be polite,
To be
and
mannerly.
to have etiquette, and to have that old world
And
etiquette.
and to be willing to help.
Yes.
Oh no, I can get
Oh
that
no,
for
I
you.
can get that for you. Like
I can do that. I
Yeah.
can do that. I will do that. You
so
know.
so just when we talk about being the light of the world, you see living examples of it. And it stops you, and it makes you want to be like that.
Well, I mean, I often think of what the Lord wants is a cheerful giver,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and definitely a cheerful giver. Like they don't want you to be. Oh, you want a paper now? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get you a paper.
Paper.
Like they want
I'm
somebody
sorry.
that they feel genuinely wants to help
you.
them.
Yes.
Like that's what I mean. That's what you get. I mean, that's what I get. Here is somebody who genuinely wants to make
help.
my life easier.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
totally.
and I mean, and that's a little bit hard to do. Like you
yeah.
don't find it very often that somebody genuinely wants to make your life easier, and not just you. I mean, everybody.
Everybody, yeah. When I do, because I see that too, and then it's like, I tell myself, I'm like, okay, now next time somebody asks you to do something, try not to begrudge it, try not to sigh, try not to,
Oh, I guess I can do that.
Yeah, like
All right, I'll do that.
try to be the.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, it
be-
takes it. Then people won't ask you. Like
Right.
I know I don't ask people.
No, I very seldomly ask people for things because of the begrudging and the stuff. But then I think to myself, well, then just make sure you're not doing that. Like try to be the happiest person in the room.
Yeah.
Like since we started reading that book, I think about that, and I meditate on that. It's like, in every situation you go into, and I fail miserably a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I still go back to the drawing board, tell myself, okay, now it's a new day. When you go into the room or whatever situation you go into today, try to be the happiest person in there.
Yeah.
Because the other thing too is like if you're the happiest person in the room, you elevate
Yeah.
the situation. If you're negative and you're frowning and you're whatever you're doing, you're bringing down a whole atmosphere.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I try to tell myself, please don't be the person that brings down the atmosphere.
Right.
So, okay, quote. Give the example in using well-modulated tones of voice, proper articulation and pronunciation, and correct and refined forms of speech. And your pupils, nurses, and employees will unconsciously improve in these points.
Right.
End quote.
Yeah.
We literally just said it. When you can't help when you're around, I can't anyways. When you're around somebody like this seminary we're talking about, that nails all these things.
Yeah.
You can't help but want to be like that too.
Right.
I think anyways. I could be wrong. I don't know. I just feel like, the proper articulation, the pronunciation, it's like they say, it's unconscious.
Yeah.
That people around you will try to strive to elevate themselves to that status too.
Right.
Quote, if you seek as a religious to be dignified and grave in your deportment, If you practice self-control when tempted to speak impatiently and perhaps sarcastically, you will find that your disciplinary problems will decrease in number and gravity. End quote.
Right. So
If you,
if you're not sarcastic,
oh yeah, oh, okay, I get it. If you practice self-control when tempted to speak impatiently.
like
I missed that part. I'm like,
or
why?
sarcastically. Like
Yeah.
sarcasm is a big deal, people, and it's so common. Like people think it's okay to,
No.
yeah, you don't say.
There's a little bit of sarcasm.
No, I mean everybody.
I just did that just as an
Okay,
example.
well you, no, I know you did. Well, you,
Okay.
you know why though? You know why?
We live in a very sarcastic world.
Because sitcoms are sarcastic.
Yes, that's
Sitcoms
true.
are
Yes,
sarcastic.
yeah.
So like, and I realized
We've been brought up on TV that
we've
is
been,
full of nothing but sarcasm.
yes, we've been brought up on television that is nothing but sarcasm. And I remember I was watching a show once, and it was Sanford and Son. Has everybody ever seen? It's so too old for you?
Too old for me, but you talk about it, so I know what you're talking
Well, it
about.
was because it was when I had the realization. He's really nasty.
Yeah.
Like that, he's being really nasty, and
It-
it's getting all the laughs.
Well, that's just it. It's like as long as you cloak something in sarcasm,
yeah,
well, he's just funny.
yeah,
Well, no, he's rude.
yeah. He's rude.
Sarcasm
is
is
rude. You are being rude.
And I tell myself that, remember, because I will admit, we come from a very sarcastic family.
Yeah,
I mean, but like we said, we've grown up on it since the 60s.
yeah,
Like, so I try to remember that, and again, I fail miserably, but like trying to eliminate that sarcasm from my life, because I can remember I can count being in situations where someone has thrown a sarcastic response back at something I've said,
yeah,
and saying you're in a group of people, and then you're like, oh, it kind of, it stops the conversation. Some people laugh, some people don't, but then you feel, as the person who has been sarcastic too, like as the person that's being sarcasticized, is that
yeah,
a word?
yeah, yeah,
I don't even know if that's a word or if I just made it up, but when you're the person receiving the sarcasm, that's what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
When you're the person receiving the sarcasm, it can be a little awkward.
Right.
It can be a little embarrassing.
Oh yeah, it's a little embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, and
sometimes, and
then,
everybody's
although
laughing,
everybody's
so you laugh with
so you
them.
laugh with them. But sometimes deep down, you're like, "Wow, that hurt a little."
Yeah.
So I try to remember how that feels, and try to make sure I don't do it to other people.
Right.
It is a problem.
I saw recently that a woman died, and somebody had commented she was the sweetest woman I ever knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I had reflected on that, and I thought,
Would somebody say that if I died?
would somebody say that if I had died?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think they would.
I don't think they would. Yeah.
I mean, you can say I'm a lot of things, but the sweetest woman you ever knew,
knew?
you would not say that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
listen, we got some time. We got to improve that. Was that
I know.
No, I'm catching my. No, I'm being very serious.
Yeah.
Like I do firmly believe. I mean, we live our life and we have our past, but I do firmly believe that it's never too late to change anything.
Yeah, no.
To
I've been
improve your
practicing
status with people.
Like I always, I mean, my biggest.
Let me correct that. Sorry, not to improve your status with people. First and foremost, for God.
Right.
But because we don't want to aim for that level of human respect. But
No, I have an aunt that you would say she's the sweetest
Yes.
woman you ever knew,
yes,
and I'm nothing like her.
no.
No,
Well, and we were just talking about her this weekend because
Yeah.
we really missed her at the
garage
sale,
sale.
because
Yeah.
last we were talking about the bazaars. She was the aunt that would run around and just do whatever
And
needed to be
she
done.
was so
and
sweet
she
and
was so
pleasant.
sweet and pleasant. You never heard an unkind word out of her mouth. Nothing.
No, she wasn't. She had faults. Like
Yeah.
she wasn't really gifted in the ability to actually do things.
Yeah. But she
But
tried.
Oh, but she was so
She was
sweet.
so
everything,
sweet about it.
Everything that made up for everything because she was
Yeah.
so. Well, in fact, we say that to one another.
Yeah.
We use her.
We
'Cause
use
when-
her.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to use her, but we use her as the guide of sweetness
Yeah.
when we talk to each other.
She's the threshold.
and she's the threshold.
She's the threshold you want to meet.
She said, you'd say, "What's my outfit look?" Yeah, you look good. And we go,
Can I
okay.
have a little bit of Andrine, please?
Can I have a little bit of Andarine, please? Oh, you're
It's
so
so wonderful.
wonderful.
Well, you could, because this is how sweet she was. You could make, like, I'm just talking about, I'm going to go into the sphere of DIY because that's what I do. I could make a craft. It could be the most absolute garbage thing that I could put out.
Yeah.
Slap something together, and you'd bring it to her, and you'd say, "Oh, Andrea, what do you think of this?" Oh, honey, it's just wonderful.
That's
Like, and that's the way she talked. But and I'm
that was
telling you, it was
genuine.
genuine.
It was genuine.
There wasn't a disingenuine bone in her body
Yeah.
that when she believed it was truly wonderful because she just what I think, if I had to guess, and God bless her, she has Alzheimer's now, so
Yeah.
unfortunately, but what I had to get, if I had to guess, I would say that she loved you so much, right?
Yeah.
Anybody, like anyone in her family, I think she loved her family so much, and she just loved people. Like she
Yeah.
was just like, she just thought you were wonderful. Like it was just so genuine. She literally thought you were wonderful.
Yeah, she did.
You know, she just loved people.
It wasn't
I don't.
fake. It
It
wasn't. It
wasn't
wasn't
fake.
fake.
Yeah. So, anyways, where did we leave off here? Quote, try to avoid sending messages to other sisters while their classes are in session. Okay, end quote. So basically, because they're talking about in their employments, but
Let people do their
let
work.
people do their work. Don't disrupt
Don't.
them.
Well, I mean, you could say don't. You know, if you know somebody's okay. Okay, this could apply because everybody has a cell phone. If you know someone's at work, don't text them.
I mean, if it's an emergency, sure, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
the mindless texting just because you gotta
You know,
feel the need to tell
and so
somebody something.
what you're doing when you do that is you take the person away from the work
Yeah,
because they'll text you back. Like
right.
it's, I mean, obviously it depends on what job they have, but there's a lot of jobs out there where people got to still have their cell phone with them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, and this is,
It's a problem.
and here back in the day when all they would have to message a sister would be with a note.
Yeah,
You know,
and even then
save
they're
it.
like, don't
Do that.
sending sister notes while she's in class.
Let them do their work.
Right.
Let other people do their work.
Yeah,
You know, it's all a matter of stealing time too.
right.
Like we did, we talked a little bit about punctuality.
Yeah,
But the time thing is an issue.
right.
Stealing of time, wasting of
Of
time,
time.
all this stuff. Like, because when we die, we're going to go to God and we're going to be accountable for our time.
Right. Right.
You know, so we have to say that it was well spent.
Yeah. Okay, quote, be courteous and respectful in talking to the children and their parents. It is unpardonable for a sister to indulge in rude, unmannerly ways of speaking, and we may certainly assume that such a lack of charity makes one liable to the forfeiture of God's blessing on her work, end quote.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
If you want God's blessing, well, if you want God to bless what you're doing, don't be rude.
Don't be rude. Quote, be equally courteous in dealing with employees. Sometimes a sister may justly blame herself when the help leave. If she addresses them in a domineering fashion, issues sharp commands, finds fault unincessantly, makes them feel inferior, and in general treats them rudely, their self-respect forces them to withdraw, and they carry away disedifying impressions of the religious life.
Yeah.
End quote. So, yeah, obviously, if you see a sister is not going to be, like, if you see a sister not being courteous to somebody, you're obviously going to leave, it's going to leave a sour taste.
Yeah.
On the religious life as a whole.
Right.
So, I mean, I believe they're telling this to them, like,
well,
you are representing the religious life.
You know, and I mean, as we all are, like even our seminarian, he is representing a man who wants to be a priest.
Right.
You know,
you're
so
holding that position of.
I mean, they have to work extra hard.
Yeah.
Because they really represent God. But we
as Catholics
represent him too. Like we can make, I remember somebody.
You can make Catholics look really bad.
I remember once somebody yelling at somebody and a comment coming back saying, well, if you're a Catholic, this is no way to act.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Okay, quote, no doubt such happenings occur but seldom, but even once in a lifetime is too often because of the harm that is done. Encouragement, sincere praise for work well accomplished, and the imparting of a sense of joy in promoting God's cause will often make an employee a lifelong friend of the community, end quote. So basically, just furthering on, that they do
Well,
happen.
like, I mean, we were at the garage sale, and that guy handed you $100 and
Yeah.
said, "What a wonderful thing!" Like, he's going to be a
Oh,
lifelong
he'll remember that.
supporter of
Yeah.
this community because what he sees there, he thinks
Thinks
is
it's
wonderful.
wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, quote. Sister nurses have countless opportunities to practice the virtue of good manners. They, more than many others, need to mold their temperament to meet the trying demands of duty. So we're going to go in, end quote, sorry. So now I think we've segued from teachers. I
Yeah.
think they're just going through like all the different employments that a nun can have. But obviously they have to practice the virtue of good manners. Okay, quote. Unless they are kind and sympathetic, they will not represent the healing Christ to their patients.
Yeah.
End quote. So, yeah, think of that, the healing Christ.
I mean, well, here's the thing too, right? Like, I mean, I think there's two types of people that you can deal with, right? Because as a mother, your kid scrapes his knee and you go offer it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, get over it.
Yeah.
You're not. But whereas the sisters,
Yeah.
they have to be, if somebody's sick,
Yeah.
they're as sympathetic as a
As a
person
person
can possibly be.
Right.
They're not in there like, in the hospital going, yeah, well, God wanted you to suffer.
Suffer.
You
Enjoy.
know, enjoy, I mean,
Offer it up.
and this is the thing about it, right? Too, because as Catholics, we do understand the truth of the matter that all affliction comes from God.
Right.
But I mean, if people don't understand that, they don't see it.
In that way.
Especially if
Yeah.
they're not religious or they're
Right.
not trying to be religious. So it just means, what, God hates me?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't take it right.
They don't take it right.
Yeah.
They have to portray themselves that God loves them so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And that doesn't generally come across with offer it up.
No, I know. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's a matter of know your audience.
Yes. Yeah.
Know who understands,
Yeah. Yeah.
the depth of the spiritualityness of accepting the afflictions.
And that's I'll give you a perfect example too, not sickness wise, but like I said at this bake sale, we had a lot of people coming in. A lot of people, when they saw the nuns, were very interested in what that was. And because like I said, we don't get that a lot, to the point that one guy even came and he was telling us, he's like, I drove by, I saw the woman standing out there, and these are his words, not mine. This is a secular person, okay? So please just don't be shocked. He said, I saw the woman standing out there in her garb, and I said, is that a nun? I got to turn around. I turned around, I blinked twice. Yep, it's a nun, and I pulled in the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's what this guy said to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I had to know what is going on here.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand, aside from the horrible movie Sister Act,
Yeah.
that's people's idea of a nun, really.
Right. Yeah.
Especially here in Canada. I mean, I know there are a lot more nuns in the U.S.
Well, we do have nuns in Canada, novice order nuns, but they just
but they
look
don't.
like,
They just look like regular people. They
don't even. They look. They wear regular
Clothes.
We call them women in sensible shoes.
Yeah, I mean, so much so to the point. Just to spell it out for you guys. So much so to the point, I was wearing a black skirt, a long black skirt at the garage sale, and a maroon shirt that said Our Lady of Victory on it. And
You were wearing the camp shirt.
I was wearing the camp shirt that we had for camp, because I just thought it'd be nice if people could recognize I was from the church. Someone asked me if I was a nun. And I'm like, nope.
It was very awkward. You should tell the conversation.
Okay, so this is what I'm leading into. So know your audience, okay? So this woman, she was there, and she was so nice. She was so nice.
Yeah.
And she said to me, oh, I'm Catholic too, but I go down to the Presbyterian church because I can't. I just can't drive, and whatever. And it's all the same. You love God, it's all the same. And I'm just like, so I'm kind of just very charitably listening. Like and I'm not a debater. I'm not a, and I'm like, you have to know your audience. And am I going to start throwing Catholic facts at this woman, even though she says she's a Catholic? Or do I just charitably stand there, listen, let her talk?
Yeah.
So I let her kind of go on. And then we were just having a nice conversation, and she was telling me all about her family. and her children, and her grandson is not baptized, and she's very upset about it because, you know, they were raised Catholic,
Yeah.
whatever that means. You know, and I just and I saw my kind of my lane to interject. And you know what I said to her? I said, "Oh, that's so sad. Yeah, no, they should get him baptized." I said, "You know what?" I said, "I will add your grandson to my prayers. I'll pray." And she looked like she was going to cry.
Yeah.
She was like, "Who says that to somebody anymore?"
Yeah.
Like she was flabbergasted that I said that to her.
Yeah.
And then I touched this woman. Like, I'm saying this humbly, like, because I just was like, I didn't know what to say to her, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And I even had to go to sister. I said, what do you say to these people when they come up to you and say these things, you know? Because then she said to me, she said, so do you guys wear like a uniform, or like, is this like this what you wear to church? Like it's somewhere between like a Mennonite and like what you're wearing? And I was like, um, in my head, I'm like, you just called me a Mennonite. I'm gonna try not to take that offensively, because I was like, I don't really think of myself as a Mennonite, but whatever. But anyway, so I'm like, no. Well, I did say to her, I said, well, you know, I said it's a personal choice I've made to God to dress modestly, to always try to make sure that I'm dressed very modestly, that I'm covered. I like skirts, you know, and then she said, she turned and looked at me. She said, well, what about me? Am I dressed modestly? And I was like, I said, well, again, it's just a personal choice, you know, because these kinds of conversations I don't have with
Yeah.
people, you know, like
Well,
I
I've
said,
never had one.
I've never
Never.
had a conversation with somebody like that. Had I been prepared, I probably could have come up with a better answer for her.
Yeah.
But I was just so like, and then I'm like, you know what? No, and I don't feel bad about anything I said.
Yeah.
Because again, she started talking about her knee surgery. And again, I said, well, and she was worried about some things. I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to add you to my prayers. I said, I will pray for you that your surgery goes well. And then she's like, there, you said it again. She's like, you keep saying that. And I just love it.
Yeah.
And she's like, you just are going to pray for me? Who prays for people? You know, like she was and I thought, you know what? The most important two things I could have said in that conversation
Yeah.
was that I was going to pray for her. And I know that touched her. And
Yeah.
I gave her a card to the CMRI website. And that's all.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. You just got to plant the seed. You got to know your audience. And you don't expect that you're going to say some grand, wonderful thing that's going to make this woman go home and change her life.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, God brought her to our bake sale, and she talked to me. Unfortunately, she didn't get to talk to the sisters because they were inside at that time, but you know, maybe she'll come back. I said, this is the number to the school. I said, you call anytime you like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and quite honestly, she lives in the town next to me. I was thinking about it. If she called the school and wanted to go to church, I'd pick her up and take her.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like it's all just a matter of like just planting that small seed and then saying you were the light in that situation.
Yeah.
You were kind, you were charitable, and you let God take the rest.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it's knowing your audience, really.
Right.
And that you don't have to give somebody who's come to the church for the first time or this a big spiel or a big.
Yeah.
Sometimes one kind word is all it takes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Absolutely.
How do we get on that topic? Oh boy. Okay, quote. Where are we here? There is no place for irritability in a nurse's schedule. Even when tired, she must remember the value of the little things that do so much to promote a cure. The pleasant good morning, the freshening of the bed, the arranging of the pillows, effort to make the tray dainty and appetizing, and care to serve the glass of water or milk or fruit juice on a plate or small tray, made still more attractive by the addition of a paper doily. It is in these tiny attentions that a patient remembers with sincere gratitude. End quote.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's my pet peeve about everything.
Yeah.
Ladies, if you're doing anything, if you go to a potluck, arrange your food pleasing to the eye.
Yeah.
Give it some appearance. Put some effort into it. I find that we have become a generation, a culture of slap it together. Here it is. Shove
Yes.
it in your mouth. Who cares?
Well, and that's it. So they're talking about a nurse here, but we want to take out of this book what we can take and use for ourselves. Obviously, we're not called to be nurses, or nuns, but we want to take out of this what we can bring for our life, and that's exactly it. It's just about, you have no idea, your presentation of things
Yes.
has such an effect
On people.
on
Present.
people, the mood, the atmosphere, all these things. And even again, it made mention again of the pleasant good morning.
Yeah.
Like, all these things come together when you're putting the focus on etiquette, presentation, good manners, good
Appearance.
appearance. All these things work together to make everything better,
Right.
and to lighten everything, and. So, and I mean, the thing is too, is if you bring something, say, to a potluck, and it's not presented well, you make more work for somebody else, because they got to go around and fix it up, or add a
Yeah.
spoon, or it's putting something that you were supposed to do and putting it on somebody else's plate
Yeah. That's
too.
what you do.
You
Right. If you
you
don't
know,
if you don't be prepared yourself
yeah,
and think of every last thing that could possibly be needed,
right,
especially with the presentation of food.
yeah.
If it needs a spoon, make sure you have a spoon.
And I mean, just to be real for a second too, we are women.
Yeah.
We are the housekeepers.
Yeah.
These things are our responsibility. This
100%.
is the responsibility of a woman.
You know, like, and nobody wants to go, oh, wow, is that ever pretty? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, when you do something and somebody says that,
yeah,
or, oh, like, and I remembered, because we often talk about happiness, right? And women have been taught, because of feminism, to fight what actually God gave them to do that would make them happy.
right,
Right. So, they want to take off the apron. They want to take off this. They wanted to be able to do what men do, and they didn't want to have to do the laundry or whatever, or look
right,
after the houses or go out to work or whatever. Right.
yeah,
But the whole point of it is, and I remember saying this, because we did this holy hour for women, and it was all about being in service.
mm-hmm,
And I said, we have been taught in this society that to be in service is to be like a slave, and it will
yeah,
make you unhappy.
right,
Where in fact, God has designed women to be in
in
service.
service.
That is their actual design.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the actual only place that they're going to find
Happiness.
happiness,
Yep.
is in the design that God gave them, which is in service. If they fight the design,
Yep.
they will be miserable,
Yep.
instead of embracing it and saying, okay, you know, I'm making this grand dinner, and it's going to be the best dinner, and I'm going to pay attention to the sauce, and I'm going to pay attention to how the napkins are folded, and I'm going to pay attention to every little detail.
Mm-hmm.
And then those people come in and they sit down and they eat and they go, wow, this is the prettiest thing I've ever seen. This is the best dinner I've ever tasted.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the moments when you feel your happiest,
Right.
that
Yeah.
you've done something that has generally pleased other people,
Yeah.
and that's where your happiness is.
Right.
To be able to sit back and go, yeah, I did that,
Yeah.
instead of fighting it, and we fight it.
Mm-hmm.
And consequently, because we're fighting it, we tend to give everything minimal attention.
Mm-hmm.
And, we come in and we throw salads down on a table from a Costco box and not give it any attention. Like, here, we've done our share,
Yeah.
and nobody is ever going to go, wow, look what you did.
Right. Exactly.
They're just not.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So yeah. Anyways, we're almost 10 minutes over our hour here, so I guess we better wrap up. But next week we'll be going on to manners at table.
Oh,
Manners at the table. So maybe some good table etiquette. So that'll be fun.
yeah.
So anyways, we'll
And
leave it.
hopefully I'll get rid of this cough
Yeah.
next week, maybe.
Learn
Hopefully.
to suppress that.
I have
No,
to
that was
suppress
sarcasm. My apologies. Mea culpa, me maxima culpa. I do that. That's a little thing I do. That's a good habit. I started forming. I'll pass that little tip along to, and I genuinely mean it. Like, if I do something and I want to kind of take it back,
Yeah.
I take it back, but I give it back to God. Like I say, mea culpa, me maxima culpa, just quietly,
Yeah, yeah.
because I realized that, and actually it is really helpful to humble yourself when you do something that you didn't mean to. Well, you did mean to do it, obviously, but if you want to make that instant, like, my Lord, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
just go through my fault, through my most grievous fault, and I beat my chest 3 times, just to give that first little, like, I'm really sorry I did that,
Right.
So, anyways, just another little tippy there. All right, so we'll leave it there, and we'll be back next week, hopefully, God willing. And until then, we hope you all have a very blessed week. May our Lord bless you and Our Lady guide you always. And Saint
Saint
Teresa,
Teresa,
pray
pray
for
for
us.
us.